Do we have everybody? Okay, we're going to reconvene the open session. I assume everyone's here because your job depends on it, or you'd be watching the debates. So, all right. So, first item of business is to you can I'm sure you're DVRing it or taping it. That's still possible. Trustee Lang will report out any actions taken in closed session.
Yes, on a 7-0 vote, the board voted to approve a retirement agreement with an academic administrator at Saddleback College.
Thank you. Now we'll have the invocation led by Trustee Lang and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Milchiker.
We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy and hope for those that are less fortunate than us. We give thanks to the many men and women who continue to put their health and welfare on the line on our behalf to enjoy these many blessings, those in all branches of the military, law enforcement, fire services, and similar professions. We give thanks to all the good citizens of South Orange County who we serve that have a vested interest in us, the authority to make decisions on their behalf, and hope that we do so with the best of intentions. We appreciate all the good work that our various employees in the district and at both colleges do to attempt to provide our students with the best possible education that we are capable of, that will provide them with the best possible chance for success upon graduation, transfer, or in their daily lives. Thanks for allowing us this great opportunity.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our great nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Are there any requests for public comments this evening? There are none. Okay, thank you. We'll now move into reports, board reports. Let's start off with Trustee Prendergast.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the fact that as a government teacher, I'm missing my Super Bowl tonight. So I'm anxious for this to hurry. I will just quickly report going to the ATEP groundbreaking ceremony on Friday, September 16th. It was well planned. It was well executed. Thank you for outing my new car, President Jamal. And I'll get you back somehow. And then Wednesday, September 21st, attended the Orange County School Board Association fiscal update. The speaker was absolutely wonderful, gave a lot of good information. I won't speak too much on it because I know Marcia probably will. But the one thing I got out of it that was just really, really powerful for me was hearing that Proposition 55, which is the extension of the portion of the Prop 30 tax initiative that was passed by voters. The sales tax drops off, but they're going to continue the taxing the higher incomes. Hearing that it was actually being supported by the Republican Party for the main reason, according to a statement by Jim Brulte, the party chair in the state, it's better to have a tax we know than a tax we don't know. And that if it doesn't pass, then the legislature may find other ways to make up the deficit that would be, I think he said something like $79 billion in revenue lost, or 7.9, one of those. There's a dot in there somewhere. And but it's a lot. And the fact that this would keep things as they are rather than have something crazy go if it doesn't pass was a very powerful piece of information for me. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Jay.
My board report. On Saturday, August the 27th, I attended the Black Chamber of Orange County's annual banquet at the Disneyland Hotel. Our veterans program was honored and was given an award. Also celebrated at this event was the 150th anniversary of the Buffalo Soldiers, which was very interesting. On August 31st, Wednesday, was the college transfer day at Saddleback College. I enjoyed seeing this. There were college booths set up all over the quad. There were so many colleges and universities that I was shocked. The UC system, the Cal State University system were all represented. Arizona schools had booths there too. There were colleges I have never heard of. There are online colleges and private colleges. The American University in Rome was represented here on our campus. Also, there was one from Europe. It was a hospitality hotel management university from Europe. So I went up and asked them what were they doing here since they were stationed in Europe. And they said, oh, we just opened up a chapter or a college in Chicago. I realized how important our students were to these colleges and universities. And I just realized the colleges are really big businesses. So then on Tuesday, September the 6th, I attended the annual South Orange County Veterans Resource Fair. The veterans, active duty personnel, and military families were encouraged to attend and connect with the veterans resources here. I was particularly impressed with the talks given by Assemblyman Rocky Chavez, U.S. Marine Corps retired. The Orange County Board of Supervisors had given a commendation to our vet program. I talked to Terrence Nelson about the program being so early in the semester. He told me that they wanted the veterans to become active in the program and meet each other as soon as possible and to see the resources that were available for them. On September 20th, Tuesday, I attended the IVC Foundation Board of Governors meeting at the IVC Performing Arts Center. 27 board members attended. The board member composition is very impressive. They are very active and involved in raising funds for our students. And last but not least, I've been talking to classified staff on both campuses. Workday issues are not resolved. Workday is not making the classified jobs any easier, but making their jobs much, much harder. Nothing seems to be helping the Workday problem. Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Jay. Not happy to hear that last comment at all. But I, too, attended the ATEP groundbreaking for the IVC, the first building at IVC. And Glenn, congratulations to you and your staff. What an exciting time. And I think, as I said at the event and others echoed, it's really a major first step for this district to begin the build-out of this campus, but it's only a first step. And I think we still collectively have a lot to do to make this what we want to be a flagship workforce development campus, not only in the region, but in the state and nationally. So it's going to require a lot more work, a lot more outreach to potential partners before ATEP really brings to reality the original vision, was to create a really marquee public-private partnership between education and the business community. That's my report. Now, Trustee Wright.
Thank you very much. I attended a number of events this last month. First of all, I went to Craig Justice, who was retiring. His retirement celebration was held at IVC on August the 24th. There was a wonderful turnout. It was a good event. I also attended the Black Chamber of Commerce annual banquet, where we honored our veterans again. I also wanted to comment that I attended a couple of football games already, and our football team here at Saddleback is doing very, very well. They've so far won four games, and they'll have a game this weekend. I also wanted to tell you that I've been involved in an accreditation visit. I will be going on an accreditation visit to Evergreen Valley College up in Northern California in San Jose. I want to tell the Board of Trustees it's a lot of work. I feel like I'm working full-time again with all that's what's expected of you when you do an accreditation visit. I also attended the IVC ATEP groundbreaking celebration, groundbreaking at ATEP, a wonderful event. I thank President Ruckmore for all that he's done there. We had a good turnout, and it was a wonderful event and well attended. I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm looking forward to this Thursday, where we celebrate the new Sciences Building here at Saddleback College. That should be a wonderful event. We've been needing a new science building, and I just get thrilled when every time I go over there. So I'm looking forward to it this Thursday.
Thank you. Trustee Lang.
Thank you. First, I'm going to be very politically correct and wish my wife, Julia, a happy birthday, as she is at tonight's Angels game at Anaheim Stadium and hopefully enjoying a good outcome there with several of her girlfriends. On the theme of sports, I wanted to recognize two great individuals prominently featured in the press recently. On a happy note, and regardless of whether you are a Dodgers fan or not, the career of Vin Scully, the voice of the Dodgers, like the team, finished the home season in great style and fanfare. Congratulations. On a sadder note, and especially for those of us who enjoy the game of golf, we mourn the passing of Arnold Palmer, one of the greatest legends of the sport of all time. The King showed us all that you can be great and humble all at the same time, always appreciating his many fans and giving as much back as he ever received from an incredibly successful career, both as a golfer and a businessman. Finally, I want to echo my colleagues' comments on the board regarding the wonderful groundbreaking ceremony at ATEP for IVC's first building. Glenn, kudos to you and your staff on that. The build-out of the ATEP campus has certainly been a long time, very long, often arduous journey, which has certainly consumed many of my hours over my 20-year span as a board member. So this really was a great milestone event. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to give sincere thanks to everyone who's here tonight instead of watching the presidential debate. But there's only about 300 million people watching it, so that's plenty. We're glad you're here. And we'll try to make the meeting informative, okay? I'm just going to highlight a few events I attended this month. I attended Craig Justice's retirement party at IVC. We worked with the board to select our Chancellor Search firm, and we're collecting from all of the constituent groups ideas about what they want in a new chancellor, what kind of chancellor they want. And so be thinking of this and thinking of how to forward it. We're trying to get that information straight to the board. I attended the IVC debate team debating the presidential candidates in Laguna Woods. I also attended the Orange County Community College Legislative Task Force inaugural meeting, which our district is chairing this year. We had an extensive update from state and federal advocates, who we'll hear more about tonight, and we began to decide what topics we want to concentrate on this year. At the meeting, I explained to the members of the task force why I was one of the founders, why I wanted to found it, and what the plan that I wrote in the initial campaign plan of the task force, which is still being used today, and very, very proud of that. I'm also very pleased to announce that the student member of the task force will come from our district this year, and I'm delighted to report it is Lucy Hendricks, our ASG body student president, wonderful student body president. So thank you, Lucy. Okay, I attended the ATEP groundbreaking, classified luncheon, Ramadan teach-in, Orange County School Boards Association fiscal update, which, as Trustee Prendergast said, was really incredible. And I was also pleased to hear is Prop 51, the $9 billion bond issue, really looks like it will pass, and this seems to be supported by all different everyone. So the buildings in all the schools in the K-12 and the community colleges really need renovation. I also attended the Irvine Valley College Faculty and Guest Artist Series with piano. This was at Irvine Valley College. Piano instructor Suzanne Botcher played the piano with guest David Lister playing the violin and Jun Sung Jun playing the cello, and it was just superb. So watch for David Lister, the violinist, who's going to come back to do a performance at IVC called Echoes of Hope later this month. Also, the Saddleback Choir will perform with Justice for All later this month. So watch for two superb arts performances at both of our colleges. Thank you for all, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Trustee Witt.
Hello, everyone. I had a busy month. I also attended, I have props tonight. I also attended the annual Black Black Chamber of Orange County banquet, and I have to say I was very excited. I know we've been talking about the Buffalo Soldiers, and I had heard that from my husband, but why we celebrated it was because they had their 150th anniversary. And truly, they've really made an impact to our country. I really liked what they talked about, that the Black Chamber had taken the leadership role in assisting veterans. And so it was a monumental event when you saw those soldiers walking in. It made your hair stand up. It was very nice. I also, speaking of veterans, I also attended the Veterans Resource Fair. That was awesome. I have to tell you, there were so many tables there. And for anybody who didn't go and has a friend or you know someone who is a veteran, pick up one of these. I felt bad. I collected them from the table, and I've been passing them out because I don't want them to go to waste. So there we go. I really appreciated that it was hosted by the Orange County Supervisor, Lisa Bartlett, our college, and the Orange County Veterans Service Office. And that was very nice. It was just a wonderful experience. I also attended the President's Classified Staff Luncheon. I love going to the staff luncheon with the classified. It's a great way to network, and being that I believe that they helped me get where I am today, I just enjoyed going back every semester to the luncheons. And I also attended something very special, and that was the 9/11 moment of silence. I have to say, I've never been to an event that touched me this much. It was very short, very few words, and very eloquent to honor the people that passed. And I just appreciated for everyone putting that together. And I have something that I want to say thank you to. I don't always read it. Well, yes, I do read it. It's the District Fiscal Service newsletter. I don't know if any of you ever read this. Camera, watch. It's one page, very short, and it gives a lot of information. And I want to end by saying that I hope that all of you will help in the Thanksgiving memorial for our student veterans. If you're going to give anything, I hope you give to our veterans here on our campuses. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Witt. And you reminded me, I forgot to mention, I also attended the classified lunch and spoke at it. So sorry for omitting that in my earlier report. Student Trustee Ford.
Hearing all of these wonderful events everyone went to, I feel kind of like a slacker that I haven't been to so many. I did get to go to the ATEP groundbreaking, which is fantastic, and I'm glad to see that finally getting underway, which is awesome. Got to go to some campus-wide committees that we had at IVC, and I'm interested in going into more for district-wide committees. Pretty eventful. They're very cool. I like to see everyone interactive and see all the processes that go on, and really makes me feel like, wow, everybody really is trying to push forward for the students, so this is awesome. It's not confirmed yet, but I have been approached to represent the student trustees for the state of California and our district at the SSCCC's General Assembly, I believe it's called. So I need to talk with my SSCCC representative right there, Lucy. Yeah. So I have not accepted it yet, and it's just an approach. But if we work out the logistics, hopefully I'll be able to represent the district at that. So, yeah, that's it for now.
Thank you. You're not a slacker in our eyes.
No.
You're a student. You're a student.
All right. We have the Chancellor's report.
Good evening. We've already talked about a lot of the different events that have happened over this past month, and it was really invigorating to sort of see the ATEP groundbreaking on September 16th. Over 90-some people attended, public officials, city officials, a variety of people from both colleges. So entering the next phase of the ATEP development, and it's a really exciting phase to be in, with looking for potential partners and actually seeing the physical site develop as we had envisioned. So kudos to everybody with that event. In addition, we're looking forward to this evening 2 presentations. Tere Fluegeman, our Director of Public Information, she has a longer title than that, but she'll be leading the presentations with our consultants, talking about legislative advocacy and all the efforts that they've been doing over the past year, and looking forward to the coming year. That's going to be a very interesting presentation, as well a presentation this evening also from the 2 college foundations. So looking forward to their financial annual report. And with that, I'll let you to the agenda.
Thank you, Chancellor Fitzsimmons. College presidents' reports. Guess we're Kathy Worley in place of Todd Burnett for Saddleback College.
Correct. I'm not Todd Burnett. Thank you. Good evening. I'm representing Todd tonight because he's away providing institutional effectiveness assistance through a Community College League of California program called CCLC Collegiality in Action. He and a representative from the statewide academic senate have been asked to give a workshop and provide some assistance specifically in regard to participatory governance at another college in the state. So he's off doing good work. And it doesn't sound like I need to remind you, but we're planning a really special event for Thursday, and I hope that all of you will have an opportunity to attend the grand opening celebration. There'll be VIP parking next to the building, so just look for the signs. It's from 4 till 7, and we've planned entertainment to just dazzle people. And we've got food and events going on that all have a science theme. So I think the food and beverages should be kind of a treat. So the invitation, if you've seen them, have a picture on it that was designed by one of the daughters of one of our nursing faculty, Barbara Huggins. It was her daughter, Jennifer, that created the drawing, and it's on the website. And I have a couple more invitations if anybody needs more. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really sorry. I'm going to miss it. I have to travel out of town, so I will be well represented on the board, I know. Glenn Rockmore, IVC.
Thank you very much. First off, I would like to introduce someone that you all know very well. And why would I do that? Well, the reason is that I'm introducing him as my interim vice president for instruction, Chris MacDonald. Chris has done a wonderful job, jumped into some fairly tough issues, and part of that related to accreditation. So that gives me the opportunity to thank not only Chris, but the entire campus, our academic senate, for working so hard to produce a wonderful document that I'm sure is going to be highly successful. But there is a lot of work going on right now in that project. The second thing is I can't go without talking about ATEP. Trustee Lang talked about the length of time that we've all been working on this, and Trustee Milchiker as well. I started at the time that the Marine Corps decided to leave the base. So it was about that time that, as a faculty member, actually, I got involved in that. Worked on that all the way through. But the purpose of bringing it up tonight is that a major change took place in the process of developing ATEP, and it happened to coincide with Dr. Fitzsimmons, excuse me, my braces are getting in the way here, her involvement, and actually paved the way to gain the trust of the city of Tustin, many other folks that were working on this. It was not an easy process, but when she started working with the group on this, things started to happen, and we got the land reshaped, got a great relationship going, and I think that was shown by the city of Tustin at the groundbreaking. They were all very pleased with what they saw. So I want to thank her for making all of that happen that day. So that's it tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. So we don't have ASG IVC here, but we have ASG Saddleback College.
Hello, everyone. So first, to start off with, I did want to mention that we are having our annual blood drive this week. So tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, we'll be having a blood drive all day in the same room, SSC 212. So if you're around Saddleback on campus, we invite you to come by and give blood if you are able to and interested. I also wanted to mention that ASG will be volunteering at the Science Building opening on Thursday as well. So we have about 25 of our members going to be there. So we'll all be in cute little red polos. So be sure to say hello to the ASG members are there. We're really excited to be participating. I wanted to mention some of the voter registration and education events that we're holding on Saddleback. So we have been doing voter registration in our quad whenever we can, usually several times a week, but we're trying to commit to at least every day, Monday through Thursday, until October 24th, which is the last day to register. We also will be holding student-led debates in the quad on some of the ballot initiatives. So we're working with our speech and debate team to produce those. So those will be on October 12th and 19th. I do have a flyer with all of these dates, so I will say them, and then if anyone is interested in a flyer, just let me know after. We'll be holding viewing parties for the televised presidential debates on October 4th for the vice presidential debate and October 19th for the final presidential debate. And on October 4th, we'll also be holding a trustee town hall event. So we're hoping that this event can have students come, meet our wonderful trustee members, and understand what type of governance and leadership is there, and get to know who you all are and what your role is in our representation. I did want to wrap up by sharing an exciting thing that we learned today. On Friday, several people sent me a grant opportunity that was out of the foundation of the Chancellor's office from the state that would provide $10,000 in support of voter education projects. So, of course, being that this is something we're working really hard on, I applied right away, and we found out today that we were awarded the grant. So we are very, very excited to be a recipient of that grant, and I cannot thank all of the individuals who forwarded me the information on Friday enough for letting me know. But we're pretty much going to be able to do all of the events that we had already planned to the nines, and not have to pay for them ourselves. So we're really excited to be recipients of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations on the grant. That's wonderful news. I think now, do I need to read it now? Okay. We're going to move on to our first discussion item, which is the state and federal legislative and advocacy reports. And I think Tere Fluegeman is going to do some intros, and we're going to see a presentation. Oh, I did not. One moment. Are there any board requests for reports? I didn't see any in the agenda. Seeing none.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tere.
Good evening, members of the board and Chancellor Fitzsimmons. My name is Tere Fluegeman. I'm the Director of Public and Government Affairs for the district. And presenting with me tonight are Dana DeBeaumont, our federal advocate from Washington, D.C., from Capital Advocacy Partners, and Mark MacDonald, our state advocate from McCallum Group. So I wanted to just provide a quick overview of kind of who we are and what we do. We represent our various constituencies. So we act as a central repository or point of contact for our various constituencies. And so I'm the person at the district level, works with the colleges in the district. Dana works with our federal partners, including the congressional members and agencies. And Mark works for the state, works with the state legislature and various agencies, governor's office, et cetera. This really allows us to be a lot more focused and a lot more strategic in the way that we handle things, because we're not all running around talking to the same people. So it works out really well, and I'm really privileged to work with them. They keep me hopping. So a little bit about what we do. We promote and advance the district and colleges. We do this by building important relationships with our stakeholders, because we can't very well go and ask them for something if we don't have a relationship built there. So we do that by sharing the work of the colleges, keeping them in the loop, conducting visits, etc. We monitor legislation, and there are several thousand bills that come through the legislature every year. We probably take a look at several hundred of them. Our goals are really to mostly influence the language. So we want these bills, as they go through the committees, to come out so they're the most advantageous for us and our students. Sometimes we take support and oppose positions, not always. But most of the time, we're really just providing technical input from the field so that we can inform these bills. And finally, we do advocacy. At the state level, most of our advocacy is related to legislation and some grants. And on the federal level, it's mostly grants with a little bit of legislation, because, as you know, things don't move quickly in Washington, D.C., especially now. This year, some of the things that we could call accomplishments, very tip of the iceberg here. I wish we could share so much more with you. We hosted Representative Walters' office, both her D.C. Chief of Staff, as well as several people from her district office, to see our campuses. And that's important because they get to see the campuses and they get to hear the vision from the president about where it's going. And so when we ask them for letters of support, it means something to them. And they've been very, very big supporters of ours. As you know, we got the Rice Diversity Award for the Saddleback vets. We think that's in part to, certainly most of it is their hard work, but part of it was that we sent groups of students and people from the vet centers to both Sacramento and DC this year, so really heightened the work that they do. We sent President Burnett to Washington, D.C. for 4 days, and it's really quite laughable that this is just a bullet on one slide, because to program or, basically prepare him for 4 days in D.C. takes about 4 to 5 weeks of preparing the research, identifying the strategies, who we're going to see, the background on those people, pulling together the marketing materials. So this is really quite an effort, and a lot of people don't get to see what that really looks like. I know that President Rockmore has an appreciation for that, having been himself. In terms of legislation, we continue to see bills that are concentrating a lot on financial aid and helping students meet their costs. That continues to be a really high priority, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that next year. We also made some progress on a mental health bill, and Mark will talk more about that. On the federal level, we continue to advocate for the year-round Pell, because it doesn't make any sense to not have that be year-round to help our students be more flexible. And we're hoping the Higher Education Act will move next year. It's pretty much been stalled. And in terms of advocacy, at the state level, we had an advocacy project. I'll let Mark explain a little bit more about the details, but it related to some full-time faculty money that came through the legislature last year, and inadvertently the basic aid districts got left out of that when it finally went into the budget. And so that was not acceptable to us, and so we made that one of our high priorities for this year, and happy to say that it was successful. We also, like I said, we sent a bunch of students and some staff to the Veterans Advocacy Day. It was a statewide effort to really tease up and bring attention to some of the issues that are specific to veterans. We continue to help our colleges quite a bit with their federal grants. And what we do is we try to set up meetings to help inform how they're writing those grants so they're more successful. If you've ever written a grant or seen or read a grant, you know just how labor intensive they are. And so we really want to bring some added benefit to their efforts by making them more informed. So with the help of Dana, set up a lot of calls. We got a lot of letters of support, and we were pretty successful, and I'll let Dana handle some of those successes. And so with that, I will turn it over to Mark to provide you with a state overview.
Thank you, Chancellor, President, members of the board. It's great to be back here on campus. It really helps me remember exactly what and why we're doing what we're doing in Sacramento when you get back down on your districts and your campus level. I'm going to go over a bit of what we did this past year and then talk a little bit about what to expect in next year's legislative session. But first, who we are. We're your eyes, ears, and voice in Sacramento. It's our job in Sacramento to promote your district. And you have a great point person here in Tere, and she does a really, really excellent job of giving us the tools that we need to promote your district at the state level. And like she said, every year there's literally thousands of bills that are introduced in Sacramento. There's two processes that are going on in Sacramento at the same time. You have the budget process, and then you have the legislative process. The budget process starts with the Department of Finance, goes through the legislature, ends with the governor, and we've already begun a process for next year that I'll talk a little bit about later for South Orange County. And then you have the legislative process that starts in the legislature and ends with the governor. It all ends with the governor. So our focus this past year on South Orange County, really our goals are directed at your unique funding mechanisms and your unique policy advocacy. Tere mentioned earlier we were able to get language in the budget this year for full-time faculty that provided about $1.4, $1.5 million in your base, and that's ongoing money for full-time faculty that wasn't included before. The other good thing about it is it sets a precedent so that if that is a part of the budget in coming years, it will be done the same way going forward. We get our direction from your chancellor and your presidents, and we do that every year. In fact, we'll be doing a planning session tomorrow, as Tere mentioned. And a lot of times the goals oversight with the federal advocacy as well. And an example of that this year, we were able to generate a letter of support from the governor's office for a federal grant that you are applying for. This year in the budget, some of the successes that we had, the big item in the budget this year was there was $200 million in CTE. And there were really two big wins that we got with that $200 million. And number one was with language streamlining curriculum, the curriculum approval process, and then including language to allow for curriculum portability between colleges, so that if you have one curriculum on the shelf, you can pull it down and you don't need another approval process. The other was the distribution of the money. Originally, the funding was going to go all to the regions. We were able to get 60% of that to go directly to the district. The other big issue that was in the budget this year is the Community College Promise Program. And this is more, this is an issue at the federal level and that one that we're going to see more at the state level. But it's not just giving students free fees at community colleges, it's focusing on affordability. So how can they afford their books, transportation, all the other costs that come with being a community college student? These are some of the bills that we worked on this year. Once again, dual enrollment, a big issue here at South Orange County Community College District. It was a big issue again this year in the legislature. We finally have an administration that embraces dual enrollment. So it's going to continue to be an issue, continue to be one of those tools that colleges can use to move students through quickly. As I mentioned earlier, the Community College Promise Program, this is a grant program that's going to go through the Chancellor's office. Mental health was a big issue this year. CTE alignment, like I mentioned before, was a big issue this year. Priority enrollment for EOPS students and foster care students. And then, as was mentioned earlier, the Orange County Legislative Task Force had a priority bill, SB 1406, on accessibility lawsuits, and that was one of the bills that we worked on this year as well. Next year's theme. I think a few of these I've already mentioned, but the Community College Promise, college affordability will continue to be a theme. Veterans Affairs is going to continue to be a theme. And we've actually already had a team from South Orange County up in Sacramento maybe a week ago, meeting with the Department of Finance, meeting with the budget committees to talk about what a Veterans Affairs budget allocation might look like. Full-time faculty, part-time faculty will continue to be an issue. Campus safety is becoming more and more of an issue. Mental health, we worked on it last year. It's going to be a part likely of the budget this year again. Basic skills continues to be an issue. Dual enrollment pathways will continue to be something that we'll work on. And then accreditation, both at the Board of Governors level and within the legislature. There will also be a lot of big political changes next year for community colleges. I don't have it on this slide, but one of the things that's going to be big is there's a new statewide chancellor. Chancellor Eloy Oakley from Long Beach Community College District. He has a different view of community colleges than the previous chancellor, Bryce Harris from Los Rios. He was a big proponent of the Promise program early on and dual enrollment. We're going to have a new chair of the Senate Education Committee. We're going to have a new chief consultant to the Senate Education Committee. That consultant had been there for about 20 years. And so all policy that went through the Senate went through her. And so actually, the consultant changing at the state level is a bigger deal than actually the chair of that committee changing. We'll have a new Senate budget chair, and we're going to have a new chair to the Senate Budget Subcommittee on Education. And then briefly, I wanted to touch on the facilities bond measure. $9 billion bond, $2 billion for community colleges. The governor is not very supportive of the bond measure, unfortunately, and there have been a couple editorials recently against the measure. The slide says it was polling at 62%. Just in the last couple days, there's actually new polling that has it closer to 50%, which isn't, a good thing for the measure to pass. You want to be in the mid 50s to 60% at this point. So there is a possibility that this thing doesn't pass. And then I should have one more slide on here for Prop 55, as was mentioned earlier. That one's actually polling a little bit better than the Prop 51, than the facilities bond measure. It's in about the mid 50s, 50 to 57%, and it means about $400 million to community colleges across the state if the current Prop 98 projections hold. So with that, I will turn it over to your federal advocate.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. My name's Dana DeBeaumont, and I work in Washington, D.C., and it's a pleasure to serve such a fine district that is doing such a good job and so widely respected. The themes in D.C. are very similar to the state themes, except for our focus has been a lot more on grants than legislation. It seems that few pieces of legislation actually pass that are meaningful to us. And so what we do is really work with Congress, the administration, and the agencies. And the focus, although we do some work on legislation and really look at it, we try to really pinpoint what makes the most sense to the district and use our resources for those, but focus on grants because that's where the dollars and cents are that really are coming back to the district. And in grants, the themes that are going to carry through are research programs, understanding the requirements, and agency priorities, because when we submit a grant, the goal is for us to already have a rapport with the agencies to know what they're looking for, what their priorities are, and for them to know us and what our strengths are and how credible and reputable we are. We work to build relationships, and that may be via in-person meetings, but we've been doing quite a few teleconference calls with agency managers, and those really help to educate both sides. We work with congressional support. We work with the senators' offices and the members as well as the committee staff. And the goal is to plan ahead to fill college priorities. We've been very active in grants, and I'll touch on that in just a second. And we continue to win as recently as last week. But for legislation, we examine, track, we recommend positions, and draft letters to have our viewpoints set. And we're viewed as a resource. It's not uncommon to get a call and say, hey, where are you on this? Or what do you think of this? And Tere and the colleges are always very responsive. And that helps establish our reputation. For grants, as you know, Saddleback won a very difficult TACT grant and continues to be recognized as a best practice for that. We recently received at Saddleback just last week, I guess, almost $300,000 for an NSF Includes pilot, which positions us to be eligible for about $12 million. And we just learned about a behavioral health workforce development certificate program, which, as mental health continues to be a big priority in the state, and it's going to be a bigger priority federally, it really positions us as creating that workforce to put students out there as professionals to help fill a major need. For legislation, let me touch on Irvine Valley College. We've got the ATEP grant, which is significant because, as you know, we didn't qualify for that. We had to get a waiver to even apply because we didn't have the need. And Irvine Valley College really went to bat and worked really hard and made a difference. And so now we continue to engage with the program staff to position us after the $1.5 million grant is up to apply again. This is the type of program that can be sustainable. And we're going to have a program manager in DC coming up for a convening of minority serving institutions, and we've already engaged with the program directors and stuff to get them some independent time with them. We've got a pending grant for America's Promise out of the Department of Labor. We just learned that we did not win STEM. However, it's my understanding that we got some really good feedback to position us to apply again. Unfortunately, we don't always get them at the first go, but the second go around, we better get them. And legislation, in-state tuition for veterans, we champion that at the federal level, and we're working on year-round Pell. Looking ahead, well, we are missing the debate tonight, which is going to be very exciting, I'm sure. Who knows what will happen? And I am itching to find out what's going on. DC is a little bit on edge. No one really quite knows what's going to happen. And we are going to have changes in Congress, too. The Senate is in play. The House will very likely stay Republican, but many believe they'll pick up Democratic seats. We're going to have changes in leadership, like at the state, for our key committees. And so what we're learning, what's interesting is that the agencies are putting some political appointees in career positions, which for us is really good. There's a key person at Education now who is overseeing community colleges as a career person, and she's in dual track and all these things. So it's a very good relationship for us to have and to build upon. The focus in D.C. will be very similar to state: higher education reauthorization and Perkins reauthorization. Perkins is the CTE that could very well pass this year, but if I was a betting person, I'd wait on next year because it passed the House, I guess, week before last or last week, but the Senate is indicating it's still going to move forward with its own bill, and there's just a handful of legislative days left. College affordability, completion, and job placement will continue to be prime focus. Certificate and credentials that can be billed to ladders of opportunity through life. Institutional accountability and risk sharing is still a very active issue in DC. The funding priorities that we've been targeting and will be meeting to develop more tomorrow: ATEP programs, health sciences, STEM, student veterans, advanced manufacturing. Those are where it's really going. And our colleges and district has been really remarkable on building credible, diverse partnerships, which are key to us continuing to win. And because our activities require careful planning and consistent effort. As Will Durant said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. And that's the same thing to building relationships and working with people. And the district really does a fine job and is very responsive. And it's a real pleasure to work with the organization. I feel like it's meaningful work. Thank you. Yes, questions?
Okay, thank you both for your presentations and for being here today. Any questions from board members?
I guess so.
I know I have some, but Trustee Milchiker, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Well, thank you so much. It was a very good presentation. When I've gone to lobby legislators, I absolutely, as I mentioned at the task force, believe that you need to have a good relationship with the elected officials so that when you go to them to ask for something, they know your name, they know who you are, and you could talk to them. So I agree with that. I think from what I've heard from what I've learned that the best way for elected officials listen to other elected officials. So I think as a trustee, if you would bring one of the trustees along with you to talk to some of the, our other elected officials, they would tend to really listen, because that just seems to really work, as well as bringing students along. Students is one of the best things you can bring along, because students are like the best advocate we could have, and they really listen, and students are speaking from their hearts. They have nothing in it but what is best for them, best for their career. So I just wondered, have you thought about bringing trustees with you or bringing students with you when you go on some of these trips? I know we always do in January at the legislative meeting in Sacramento.
We always welcome having the elected officials come with us. Locally is a great opportunity because it's just right down the street. Anytime. I know that we've invited you guys several times. It's not always, people are not always available, but anytime that we could do that would be great. Also, as part of the legislative task force, I know that typically we put together teams and we do visits in Sacramento as well as DC. So hopefully we're going to do that again this year. And I know, Marcia, hopefully you'll be part of that.
Yeah, I hope so. And also locally, too. I mean, we can put together teams and visit legislators locally as well. So all that. So, yeah, thank you.
And students are always our number one priority. And the legislators absolutely love talking to the students.
They do.
They have real-life stories and can really bring some context to the issues. When they hear from us, they say, yeah, we know you guys are supposed to say this to us. But when they hear it from the students, like, yeah. Then they just want to hear from the students. So the students are usually our number one advocate whenever possible.
Thank you.
And if I could just add, I know DC is quite a trip, but we have had several people come to when they're going for other business. Any spare time or on the tail end or at the beginning, just let us know, and I can use up as many hours as you give me to make meetings, and because they do like to hear from you. And we had the vet counselors there in DC, and we've had some students, and not only is it helpful to them, but it's helpful to me because it's energizing, and you really hear the voices, and you understand the passion and the commitment, and that's really meaningful.
Thank you.
But yeah, come.
Thank you.
Also, I know Trustee Jamal has gone on quite a few little impromptu visits when he's been at DC, so some credit to you for that.
Thank you. Trustee Lang.
Yes, my question is sort of similar, I guess, to Trustee Milchiker's in a way, and that is on most of the issues I think that you're advocating on our behalf, there's not going to be an issue in terms of whether you'd get the support from our board. Certainly in terms of the grants that we're seeking and other maybe obvious, what I would call obvious legislation. But there may also be some other areas in which the trustees maybe have some disagreement in terms of whether a bill should or shouldn't be supported and so forth and so on. How do you make sure that you're getting the pulse of our board in terms of that sort of input?
So I know that we've talked about this at the board retreat the last 2 years, and the board has entrusted the administration to do most of the groundwork on legislation in particular. Very often when these bills are moving through the committees, we have a couple of days to respond, and typically it might be something like, how much would it cost if this got implemented, or how would this impact another mandate, or something like that. And so a lot of them are really policy sort of level things, really quite boring, some of them. We do monthly reports to the board. I know I do written reports to the board every month. As well as I have brought several pieces of legislation before you, either presented them in a board meeting or asked for input on them. So my direction has been, when there's a controversial issue or an issue that really needs to have more discussion from the board, then those are the ones that I present to you. But I don't present the other hundreds that are mostly ground level type policy sort of things.
Okay,
So that's been sort of our direction from you.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I know one of the very hot-button issues that all the candidates are talking about these days is free community college for students, and I don't think we've really managed to engage in much of a conversation or debate about that. I know I certainly have certain feelings about that issue that may or may not be in sync with some of my colleagues on the board.
I can comment on that as well. As you know, that effort kind of started out of the federal side. This year, it got a lot more attention on the state side as we started to talk more about promise programs. And so our colleges weren't really ready to commit to any sort of college promise programs just yet. I know that they've been in discussions. So one of the things that we advocated for this year was, I don't know if you remember when I brought you the Cal Grant bills, the financial aid bills, we talked about two bills. 1892 and 1721. And one of the things we knew that those bills probably wouldn't get through because they had such a high cost associated with them. However, some of the best pieces came out and attached themselves to 1741, and that includes $15 million in grant funding next year for colleges to start promise programs. And that is exactly what we were advocating for all year, because this way it kind of provides a mechanism for us to start having those conversations. What would a promise program look like? I think maybe there are about 8 so far. San Diego just started one. Theirs is $200,000. I mean, it is 200 scholarships of $1,000 each for book scholarships. I mean, maybe something like that we would be willing to do. Then there are others that are doing 100% free college. A lot of that depends on the number of students that they have on financial aid, because that's obviously the gap we would have to make up. So those are conversations I'm looking forward to having next year. And I think advocating for these grants was a good start. This way it sort of incents the colleges who haven't started promise programs to get on the program.
So I'm also looking forward to hearing from maybe perhaps you and Matt on the what's happening on the basic aid front and what sort of it seems like more community college districts have moved into basic aid than historically has been the case, which probably is better for us. But interested in hearing about what you see happening there.
Yeah, let me take a kind of a step back and address the promise question real quick. Is that when the federal community college promise discussion filtered down to California, it became a college affordability conversation. And the reason for that is because community colleges in California have such a robust Board of Governors fee waiver program that a lot of students are getting free community college. But where the affordability comes in is the ancillary costs that the students have to pick up in order to be successful. And that's going to continue to be a discussion, not only through the community college grant or community college promise grant program, but also in the advocacy for increased Cal Grant access. And on your basic aid question, you're right. There are more districts that are becoming basic aid. I think San Jose Evergreen just passed the threshold, and they're now basic aid district. It looks like Sierra College is going to become a basic aid district pretty soon. Barring an significant economic downturn, I think you're going to see more community colleges go into basic aid. I think right now, with the budget looking good, I don't think that there is a desire from other districts to kind of go after basic aid money, so to speak. But I think it's important to look at the unique aspects of your funding when we do our budget advocacy, and we talk about what should come through apportionments and what should come through categorical programs and how to address the financial needs of your district.
Can I add something to that? We do have now a little coalition given that now it used to be 3 when I arrived, and now it's 7 going on 8, I think is the number. McCallum Group is actually hosting a conference call of the Basic Aid Coalition coming up in the month of October. And we also have a separate Basic Aid advocacy person, Amy Seppinger, who also helps us with these issues as well. So we sort of talk to each other and sort of keep our eyes open for that. I think some education has occurred at the State Chancellor's Office with some of our advocates' help, that we were able to communicate to them that by being on Basic Aid, we're actually providing more for the rest of the groups who are non-Basic Aid districts. And I think that education really was helpful to us moving forward the last few years.
And I think actually this full-time faculty issue was a tool that we were able to use to talk about some of the Basic Aid different Basic Aid issues. And I think actually the new Vice Chancellor of Fiscal Services at the Chancellor's Office really gets the issues pretty well.
And if I could just add one thing about the community college, the free community college debate, one thing that is our goal is to kind of tell you what is really moving and what isn't. And we're hearing a lot of talk on the federal level regarding free community college, and Hillary Rodham Clinton has an even advanced more component in her plan, but Donald Trump just has some choice issues and with K through 12 and just hired his first education person last week. But I basically said off the top, this isn't moving. We want to use resources on things that are really moving. And you see it's went down to the state, and it's going to make the talk about Pell and other choices to make college more affordable and things that we have to try to strengthen them and make them more sustainable is what the federal focus is going to be. So we don't want to use resources on things that aren't going to be impactful for us.
So on that note, I know that I will be in the D.C. area around Valentine's Day 2017, and I can think of nothing better than to spend Valentine's Day with our beloved members of Congress. So I'll let Tere. I'll coordinate with you. But I did have a question for both of you, and I was glad to see the federal focus is pivoted and focused more on grants, which I think is a good decision. I think that's where the focus should be, the preponderance of the focus. So my two questions, I guess, are on the grant process at the federal level. Are the colleges doing the grant writing, and then Dana, you're doing the advocacy around that? That's one question. And then for both of you, we all know that CTE is a very hot topic right now. There's funding flowing at the state level, at the federal level. We have 62 acres in Tustin that needs to be developed as a workforce development campus. What are you doing specifically to identify funding sources for this district, not for all of your clients, but for this district, to fuel ATEP and its growth over the next few years? So the two questions.
Sure. The colleges are doing their own grant writing. What both Terry and I try to do is serve as a resource to review and help to refine to make sure it matches criteria. Sometimes a question may come about a particular grant, or does this fit that, or can we do this? We engage with decision makers to say, yes, handle it this way, or no, handle it this way, or this is how you should address it. So we really do try to help ensure that the grants are written to the criteria where we can win.
So are you identifying the grants for the colleges, or the colleges identifying the grants and flagging? Terry, how is that process working?
It's a little bit of both. The goal is to get ahead of the game. Most of the grants we know are coming down the pipe ahead of time, and we're positioning for them. I mean, and so there's several things that come out and that we know we're going to apply for. What Anna Peasy is just one example of that. So we do work hand in hand. And in terms of ATEP, it is a very high priority, and there are some grants like EDA and the Anna Peasy. Part of it, we could use part of that money towards construction. That's one of only a handful of federal programs which we can do that. Federal are usually more programmatic dollars, except for EDA and the Minority Serving Institution program.
Do you want to comment now, Glenn?
I would love to. There are times that we do have a focus that we work with both Tere and Dana. NSF right now, photonics program is one that we're working on and trying to get some help from her on that. But what really worked well for us is that Tere and Dana put together a good solid 3 or 4 days of meetings, much like an accreditation visit. I don't even remember sleeping. But you're seeing people constantly and making presentations on what the college is doing. And then from that, what we're talking about will eventually resonate with someone. And so we're seeing Department of Education, we're seeing National Science Foundation, we're seeing legislators. And that's how ANAPISI came about. We didn't go to D.C. to look for ANAPISI. But we were talking with Department of Education. They go, by the way, so you have a large number of Asian and Pacific Islanders. Well, we have a program that might work for you. And as Dana mentioned, we didn't qualify right off the top. The reason being, although we had the right percentage in those 2 cohorts, they weren't poor enough, frankly. And so, but in Orange County, there's the effective poverty that we were able to work on a little bit. So we had the 28% in that population, and then we were able to argue that that with a little bit of work that they could benefit from this as well, and eventually we were able to win that. But it was only with Terry and Dana's work, and Dana particularly working with that contact to drill in, to find that nugget that we were looking for to finally allow us to qualify, win the grant, and now we're able to be eligible for round 2.
Great. Mark, do you want
make a quick comment? The TAC grant from the Department of Labor a couple of years ago was a program development grant. It's program development money to start the allied health portion for what Saddleback wants to do at ATEP. And I think largely in us selling ATEP and going and talking to them about the vision really helped that grant get its visibility. The same that President Rockmore is talking about, ANAPISI, the connection to NSF about becoming a center for a national center for photonics, first a regional center for photonics, and us going back and talking to them about that over and over again and saying, you remember this is going to be at our new location ATEP, and we talk a little bit about that. So when those grant applications come through, it means something. It's part of something bigger. I don't see where we have any opportunities to just land a big fat grant to develop the whole site. I wish that was possible.
Well, I don't think any of us are under any illusions that that's going to happen.
But it's sort of like a little bit at a time, and the program dollars at the federal level is a good way for us to start on that.
Mark.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I would say at the state level, short of a bond, there are not many, if any, resources for capital outlay. We talked a little bit about Proposition 51 and how that aligns with the local district priorities. As far as CTE is concerned, what there are dollars for is program development and program expansion. But that obviously comes after you have the facility. And some of those dollars came in the $200 million this year in the CTE that was part of the budget. That's going to be available for expansion and development. But like I said, short of a statewide bond or local money to pay for capital outlay, there's not much out there at the state level.
Can you think, my last question, of any instance, say, for example, when the McCallum Group, you're lobbying on behalf of community college districts, where your position is at variance with the league or the chancellor's office? Has that ever happened, or is it pretty rare?
I would say more so with the...
More so a variance or more so rare?
It's rare, but I would say that it's in variance more so with the Chancellor's office than with the League, although it does happen sometimes, and only with the Chancellor's office because the Chancellor's office doesn't take a position on many bills. And actually how our relationship works with the Chancellor's office is the Chancellor's office says, we get an email from the Chancellor's office that says, we're getting a call from Department of Finance, or we'll get an email from Department of Finance that says, how does this impact your local districts? And then I reach out to Tere. Tere sends that to the appropriate person. Is that a facilities issue? Is that a budget issue? It would go to your, formerly it would have gone to your chancellor. And then we'll get feedback from that. And then with that information, we're able to advocate for tweaks or changes to the law that best suit what's needed down here.
Thank you. Trustee Lang.
Yes. Can somebody refresh my memory again about how much is in the $9 billion GEO bond and the $2 billion California Community College Facilities initiative that would directly affect our district?
There's
$2 billion for the community colleges.
No. But specifically, how much of that?
I believe we have 2 projects, one for each college. I provided an item to you a couple months ago. I don't have it with me, but there are 2 buildings, one for each college, that are lined up for potential funding. They wouldn't qualify in the first round of funding.
That's right.
But it's my understanding that they would try again in the second round of funding. And it's point-based, and I think Brandy has explained that to us. It sounds rather complex, how they go about assessing that need. So there's no guarantee that we would get those funds. Also, I do want to mention to you that there is an information sheet on our homepage of our district website. It's been up there for a while to provide information to the public about how those propositions would affect us, both the propositions 51 and 55. So for public information so that people can decide.
Thank you. Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, just if I can maybe help answer Trustee Lang's. At the fiscal update that we got from Kevin, one of the things he mentioned that, there's $9 billion right now. The people are first in line, and some other obligations, about $4 billion of it are committed, which leaves $5 billion for whoever's next, and we're in that queue. So a high likelihood we would get it if the bond passes.
Well, the $5 billion that's not lined up, is it a competitive or is it a formula allocation? Well, if it passes,
the way he indicated it was a line, like it was like
so it's a formula.
Put in for it. No, whoever put in for it. Like
so it's competitive.
It's like a wait list.
Deborah's telling me one thing.
It's a little bit different from the K-12 program. Is different from the community college program, and so the K-12 program is far more complicated than the community college program, I would say. The community college program goes through the chancellor's office. You apply for statewide funds. You're scored. Health and safety projects get top priority, and then you get more points based on a match that you're willing to put up. And this district has been willing to put up a match for both projects, I believe, at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Is that it? Oh, Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, just briefly, I also attended the budget update, and I also attended the Orange County. Anyway, I've attended several presentations on the ballot propositions, and what I have heard is that both the Democrats and the Republicans are supporting Prop 51, which is $9 billion for capital construction for all the K-14, they call it, so and the community colleges, as we said, are only getting $2 billion. But they say that it looks like it will pass because people realize that that's the only way that the schools or the community colleges get money to build schools. And they realize that the infrastructure is crumbling throughout the state, and we need schools, the community colleges and the schools, and both parties realize that, and they were saying like the $9 billion. I think they said it at the school board's meeting that this is $9 billion, but Governor Brown's request for the train and the water project is $200 billion. So in comparison, this is just a drop in the budget for the state. So it looks good to people because it's something that the schools need. So anyway, I just thought that would be a little bit heartening to you. I don't know if you've heard of anything else about that. They said the governor is against it, but he's against it because he's against bonds, and he's being very quiet about being against it. Have you heard that, or have you heard that he's speaking out against it?
He's not speaking out against it, and he's not putting a whole lot of money against it. His main priority has been his prison initiative, but there have been actually some editorials recently against the bond, including the LA Times, and so that's dragging down some of the poll numbers. And it's there was a Public Policy Institute of California poll that recently came out that had it close to about 50%, around 50%.
Wow.
Okay. Well, Dana and Mark, thank you for being here this evening. And Tere, thanks for setting this up. I'm sure we'll be following up. There are a lot of important things taking place we need to stay on top of. Thank you.
Thank you for all your questions.
See you in DC.
Okay. I was just going to do it. Oh, you want to make the motion? Okay. Go ahead.
Make the motion that we move up.
Put the mic on.
Move up item 7.1 before we deal with the consent calendar.
Okay, I have a motion from Trustee Lang to move up and consider item 7.1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Trustee Milchiker. Is this going to be a recorded vote? Okay. Go ahead and... Oh, any further discussion? No further discussion. Go ahead and cast your vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote. Student advisory yes vote. Okay, foundations, you are up and on.
We'll support.
I said if I knew it was going to make you wait, I would have voted no.
Well, I think the debate is over, so you're going to watch the reruns anyway, or the rerun.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Oransky. I'm the Executive Director of the Irvine Valley College Foundation. And both foundations, Saddleback and IVC, are looking forward to presenting some of our accomplishments from this past year to you. With that very brief introduction, I will now turn it over to the President of the Board of Governors at IVC, Bill Hewitt.
I figured some of you out there might not recognize me. Madam Chancellor, President Jamal, members of the board, it's with great pleasure that I present the Irvine Valley College Foundation report for the year. We've had a tremendous year, and I am very proud of that year. Let me start out. You have in front of you the slides. There are 7 slides. I'll make it as brief as I can. This is a summary of the 15-16 income that we earned over the period of the year, starting July 1, 2015 through 2016, June 30th. I think it's self-explanatory. The contributions, the events, which were 2, the outstanding inventions, and also our FAD. And then the revenue from our interest earning accounts and our endowments and our accounts. Go. Thank you. The top part of that is just a summary of the previous page. On the bottom part under the expenses, you'll see that our total expenses was $1.346, and we had a net increase in wealth for the foundation of $173,163 from one year over the previous year. This is the amount of dollars actually raised through donations each year since 2012. You can see that we raised an additional, I'm trying to read that.
122 this year.
About 122,000 more this year than we did last year, which was a tremendous success for us. Let's see. This is the amount of scholarships that we gave out. And you can see, once again, we're increasing the amount of gifts that we're doing to support our students. This is a summary of our fundraising events. The first one, Astounding Inventions. In 2014-15, we raised $15,000 in the event, and we had a whamming great profit of $170. However, in 15-16, we raised $25,000 and had a net increase of $9,900. With the foundation, the same thing is true. As you can see, once again, a significant difference between 2014-15 and 2015-16, and a significant increase in the net profit after cost. Some of the things that we've done over the period of the year that we think deserve recognition is that we have now another 3-year grant with the city once the bond expired, BB. And so the city has sought forward to fund us another $100,000 over the next 3 years, each year, for scholarships in the early college program. Secondly, $102,000 grant was given to us through the veterans programs, and a $10,000 sponsorship has come in from Cox Communication. The revenue for the FAD, and by the way, that's the Foundation Award Center for those of you that don't know that, but all of you, I think, were there. What do you got there? Oh, okay, just the growth was a 47% increase in actual net profit for the event for 1 year period of time. Sponsorships. I'm sorry. Thank you. 100% of the board, everybody on our board has made a contribution towards the foundation, 100%. We're very proud of that. And we've established 5 new endowments in this last year, and 13 new accounts that include 5 scholarship accounts. Let me share with you why I think we've been successful over the past year. First of all, I'd like to give credit to Alyssa, who's done a wonderful job as our new executive director. That combined with the new composition of the board that was previously mentioned by Dr. J has been significant. We started out, when I took over as president, we had 9 members, and we now have 27, and they're quite respected members of the community and local businesses. I think that I want to give some recognition to Don Rickner back here, because he's been my mentor and he's been her mentor. So we can't go without saying that he played a part, however minor it might be, is questionable. And finally, let me just say that it goes without saying that without Glenn Rockmore, Dr. Rockmore's commitment to seeing that the foundation is successful, we would have never been where we're at today. So I think that the foundation, all the people on the foundation, owe a great deal of gratitude to Dr. Rockmore for his support. That's it, folks. We'll have questions after the other presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Moving things right along. Drive. My name is Anthony Ferry. I'm the president of the Saddleback Foundation Board of Governors. This is my first presentation as president, so go easy on me. To my right, my mentor as well, Don Rickner, president of the Saddleback Foundation. So as with IVC, we celebrate a rather significant year of success that I'm very proud of. Have been involved with the board for the past 6 years, and it's nice to see this continuing trend. The years you're looking at here are from 2009 to 2016, where you can see that trend that's been sustained. Up until 2009, it was relatively flat, getting us to about that $2 million mark of net assets. And that's where the growth really started to happen as the staff began to grow and focus on the fundraising efforts for Saddleback College, taking us to total assets north of $11 million, with the OSHR funds as well that would put us near $12 million. As you'll notice from the endowments below, for 2016, north of $8 million. in total. As a result, the recent bumps, we led by Foundation staff a campaign to convert regular and committed scholarship donations to endowments very, very successfully, and that's something that we're continuing into the following or future years. So very happy with the success of that program and campaign. The breakdown of revenue and gifts in kind for the year, pretty self-explanatory as you go through. You may have questions on any of these, which we're happy to answer. These numbers alone are the total to $3.2 million, puts us in the top 10% of community college revenue in the state of California. Something that's really significant and often goes unnoticed as we get buried in our day-to-day. Some of the specifics, as those of you have questions, maybe some of you may be thinking, the special events includes the gala, fine arts events, athletic events, as well as the KSBR Bash. So there's a significant number of things that happen in that. Go to the next slide. This particular slide is one that I'm probably the most proud of, being a student, former alumni of Saddleback College, and knowing that my contributions and my efforts here have helped several in getting through and on their way to their graduate degree. The number that you can see for Saddleback College for 2016 was 517 students receiving scholarships for that year, which is fantastic. And again, the number of this entire presentation that I'm probably the most proud of. That number, translated into dollars down below, was $793,000. It was distributed amongst them, not equally, but puts us at an average of about $1,500 per student. And that number puts us in top 3 in the state. You may notice from the trend graph as far as the scholarship awards flattening off in the last couple years was primarily due to the loss of a National Science Foundation grant of about $450,000 over 3 years that the math, science, and engineering are reapplying for, and we hope to see that bounce back. All the numbers that you just saw, again, reiterated here for a statement of activities. Nothing specific, but I'll give you a moment to look at that and see if any questions arrive for later. But obviously the most important there, yielding a net gain of $867,000 to the total for the year. So a summary of our, how good it didn't build. Summary of our accomplishments for the year, as several of these have already mentioned. Obviously, I'm not going to walk through these one by one, but a couple things that I would like to point out. The gala remains our largest and most significant fundraising event for the year. It's come quite a ways from my first involvement with the gala in the gym. And I'm very, very happy to have seen it progress to be quite a significant event. This year, we're stepping it up one level further. We'll actually be at the Ritz-Carlton this year, April 1st of 2017. So please, if you wouldn't all mind marking your calendars, we hope to see you all there. We also would like to invite you as attendees that you will be welcome to join our VIP reception that we'll be having in advance. So if you are going to be in attendance, we hope to see you there. In addition to that, one other trend, as you mentioned, about 3/4 of the way down, the credit card payments increasing 68% through Net Community, raising over $197,000. We just really like that trend. A lot of people much more convenient or comfortable donating online these days, and having that capacity and knowing that we're doing the right thing by putting it out there is going to open ourselves up to a lot more quick donations and regular recurring donations. So a statistic that I think is very meaningful there. And one other thing, just pointing out as well, the a target towards the publication of our, down at the very bottom, the biweekly gift planning newsletter, targeting current retired staff as well as Emeritus Institute students, has continued to yield benefits, and we have actually secured 4 irrevocable estate gifts, one of which is mentioned, the 3 others anonymous there from Jane Horlings. That's something that we see continuing with those efforts, as the response has been very, very positive, and we look to see that number increasing significantly in the not-too-distant future. Thank you very much, and we're ready for questions.
Great. Thank you both for your excellent presentations. I'll turn it over to Trustee Prendergast to open the questions.
Yeah, again, thank you very much. Nice job with that. Just a real quick question for IVC. The net change on the standing inventions, I'm assuming that has to do with the sponsorship change, because I remember last year there was a sudden drop of a Greenberg Traurig, and then, so is that the difference? Am I getting that right?
That is a significant difference. It's actually we had a number of new sponsorships that took the place of the lost sponsor plus additional dollars. So we actually almost tripled the amount of dollars in sponsorships between last year and this year. 9,000 to 27,000?
15 to 25.
Well, 15 to 25. Yeah, triple's close. Government work. Yes, that's the answer. The answer is that.
It's very good to hear.
Great. Trustee Wright.
Bill, thank you for your presentation, all of you. The one question I have is your district support is wonderful.
Isn't that?
I applaud you for that.
Kudos goes out to Dr. Glenn Rockmore for all of that.
Okay.
Actually,
can you comment on what that means, district support? How does that
the
come
district
about?
support is actually that we have 4 full-time employees in the foundation. The foundation is still rather young in its getting back on its feet. And so we don't have the resources where we can use some of the resources to fund positions through the foundation dollars raised. So that comes directly from the district for the 4 full-time positions.
Okay.
Where do you see that going? Sorry to jump in, Trustee.
That's a very legitimate question. I actually think that we've got a lot of goals to set, given what Saddleback just presented to you, but I think that we're well on our way. I think ultimately what you'll see is the foundation will become more self-sustaining and more self-funding. So I think that any future positions and perhaps any positions that are currently funded that are on a temporary basis may be picked up in the future by funds that we generate through the foundation.
Okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks.
I have something to add to that. I've actually discussed this with the college leadership as well, and our hope is to provide funding back to the college in more significantly as we go along, not necessarily through the position so that we don't have the challenge of raising our own salaries, which is one of the hardest solicitations you can make, but rather by raising additional funds to go into the programs at school, offsetting the costs of our salaries.
Thank you.
Trustee Lang.
Yes, thank you. I think actually Trustee Wright hit on at least part of the question that I was intending to ask, which had to do with the district support number. And I think you also made the point that it probably does make some sense for the colleges to cover part of the salary costs so that when you're making your solicitation to your donors, the money is going not for salaries, but rather for other forms of support. So I think that probably makes good sense. But again, I applaud all of you on all of your hard work on behalf of our foundations, and also on the growth in the top line numbers, which is impressive, frankly. So congratulations as far as that goes. But obviously would like to see the numbers get even bigger so that the relative amount of district support shrinks even further. So that would be nice. I did have a question. I noticed on the Saddleback numbers, there was an amount that showed up on the pie chart for in-kind donations, but I didn't see that broken out anywhere on the IVC numbers. So I'm just curious, in fact, what the in-kind donations represent for Saddleback, and whether, in fact, there is a number like that for IVC that's being reported and is buried in the numbers.
For Saddleback, that was in-kind donations. Are both of these live? No.
It was about $61,000.
Yeah, $61,000. It's mostly in auto technology from local dealers providing parts that they're able to use in the instructional program.
Okay. Oh, very good. Okay.
We haven't been tracking in-kind contributions, at least this year, but that's coming from a past president of the foundation, I would expect you to say, you got to start tracking those, Bill. Anyway, I agree.
Makes sense to me.
But we haven't tracked them up to now.
Well, in this past year, we didn't receive any large, significant gifts, but this coming year, we've already received a piece of equipment for a photonics program that is very significant.
Congratulations.
Shift numbers dramatically. So.
Which will create a new column said in-kind contributions.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation and also for doing such an incredibly fabulous job of raising funds for our students' scholarships, which it really helps our students incredibly. Can I say that we give over $1 million in scholarships every year? I think that's correct of both colleges. What?
Yes.
So I'm being an honest politician by telling people that, and so we try to help our students in any way we can. And I understand statewide about over half of the students get Board of Governor, they call them BOG waivers, where they don't even have to pay any tuition. So this is really helping our students succeed and go on to the next level without having any student debt, which is really fabulous. I was just wondering two things. First of all, you mentioned that you got a National Science Foundation grant for math, science, and engineering scholarships. I didn't know that the National Science Foundation gives out grants for scholarships. Is that true? Just say yes or no. It is true. Okay. Okay, yes. I didn't know that. Okay, I learned that. Okay, well, and also it's pretty nice that Astounding Inventions is earning money now. I had really thought, I know it's a nice, wonderful thing to do for our community and the young people in the community, but also it's a revenue source for our foundation. So that's really, really good. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I'm a huge supporter of the foundations. I think you both, Don and Alyssa, know that. Couple specific questions for each of you, then a general question. But on the Astounding Inventions, terrific event. I think the net still could be a lot better, and it doesn't take away from the fantastic event that it is. But I think, given the foundation, if you can find a way, and I think some of us are willing to help you get sponsorship dollars up so we can get a better net on that event, because I know the time that goes into putting that together. I think that would be really helpful.
We're working on that, and I appreciate your comments, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about potential sponsorships.
Yep. Great. So thank you. So two questions. I guess the question I have for both of you is, where do you see the potential for most growth for the foundations in terms of revenue sources? And so where is it going to be? Is it going to be alumni? Is it corporate? Is it going to be foundation? Is it going to be
I think
gifts? Where do you see, where is the growth?
To address the ones that I see, I think that corporate is completely untapped from my perspective. I know a lot of very wealthy people and corporations that find other places to give money traditionally to their four-year and doing my part in my conversations with them to change that. So Saddleback, like I said, is near and dear to me, and I'm trying to change the perspective of the right start for education, and committed myself and my philanthropic interest to education. So I think corporate is a big one. When we look to our gala, the sponsorships is the biggest portion. Second would be alumni, and embarrassed to admit, but as an alumni, I've never been solicited, and that's a huge miss. So I think
obviously you have. You're the president of the board.
It was through a roundabout way that I got reconnected back to the school. But honestly, the poor assumption that I made as an ill-informed corporate American employee out there was that the community colleges didn't need help, that they were taken care of by the state. And so again, my interests and efforts were going to my four-year alum, having no idea that there was need at the community level whatsoever. So for me, my personal interest, and I think that is a definitely huge opportunity, because both of those are completely untapped. We're just tip of the iceberg. So.
Well, let me echo exactly what Anthony said, and that is that we need to work more with our business partners. We need to develop and cultivate those relationships for a number of reasons. One is that they're the people that ultimately will be giving our students their jobs, giving them internships. And we believe that cultivating that relationship will strengthen the foundation, the donations, and so on. We also, at least from all of the reports that I've read and the books that I've read, that some of the biggest donors are individual donors, people that are alumni, people that have believed in the community college, where the community college has made a difference in their lives. So we've got an annual planning, giving staff person that's working on both the faculty and the classified staff, as well as beginning to look at our alumni and alumni wealth levels. So it's like it's an untapped resource that we can make a great deal of effort out of.
I see two parts to your question, really. Where is the big money, and when, and what's next? And those, in a sense, are two different answers. Because what's next for us are, do you go after people who don't know anything about us but have the resources to be very helpful? Or do you go to people who love us and may have, some of them may have the resources, some may not. So for what's next, I think we go to the people who already are invested with us. And that means our senior faculty, retired faculty and staff, our members of the Emeritus Institute who have attended for maybe 5 or 10 years. We did a study of those numbers and found that out of 5,500 people in the Emeritus Institute, 2,700 of them were enrolled 5 years ago, and over 1,000 of them were enrolled 10 years ago. So there is a tremendous loyalty there that is just waiting to be tapped. So those are our priorities from the standpoint of time. Over the longer term, we just got from our district IT a list of over 500,000 alumni names for Saddleback College. And so
with email
I asked them
addresses
to provide that for IVC as well. But of course, that has to be worked. It has to be sifted. We have to find email addresses for those people, do geo mapping for their wealth so we know which ones that we ought to be going to first. But alumni are definitely a next step down the road. And just to put a coda on my thinking about this, while corporations are a tremendous asset that's waiting to be tapped, they provide only about 5% of overall giving. Mm-hmm. So even with corporations, it's usually because you develop a relationship with a person, and that person cares about what you're doing, and that's where Anthony comes in.
So given what you just said, that there, and I agree with the strategy to focus more on people who are already invested in us, and based on a recent board meeting, we have a lot of people who love the fact we're building a stadium.
Yes. That's quite a segue.
Based on several speakers that evening from people that seem to have means. What can you update the board on what the foundation support you think will be for this stadium, which will be a benefit to a huge swath of Orange County, not the least of which to mention is South Orange County itself?
Of course.
So the board's addressed that. We've currently committed $500,000 to the building of the stadium to come through any number of campaigns. That's how we go about that. Maybe more. We'll see. But that actually is going to be donated in conjunction, I believe, with the Board of Trustees as to come in support of some item potentially for the stadium. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. We kept you late. Thank you for coming and your presentations. You've got huge support for the foundations from this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving forward, we're now into the consent calendar, item 5.0. Do I have any polls from the board? Seeing none, well, I think I have one myself. So 5.6 I'm going to pull. I was going to pull a couple others, but I can defer that. Trustee Wright.
Move approval.
It's a motion to approve the remainder of the items, second by Trustee Lang. Any further discussion? I'll go ahead and cast your vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. The question I had on 5.6 was just that the lowest bidder was not selected, and I was wondering what they happened to be missing.
They didn't qualify. They didn't, when we do a bid, they have to meet all the specifications in the bid, or else they sort of basically get disqualified. We move to the next lowest bid. Okay. One in line, yeah.
All right. I move the item for approval. Oh,
I second.
Trustee Lang.
If I can just make the comment that I thought it was that was very well indicated in 5.2 and probably should have been indicated in 5.6 to avoid
I missed
Yes.
it. Was it not in?
Yes, you are right. It should have been a footnote on the bid number, Exhibit A, and we will make sure that's on there for the next time. Thank you.
All right. So I guess I didn't miss it. I move approval of the item. Second from Trustee Wright. Any further discussion? Go ahead and vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. Okay. We are now on to general action items. The Chancellor Search Consultant Services with Professional Personnel Leasing.
Move approval.
Motion from Trustee Milchiker, second from Trustee Lang. Any further discussion from the board? Go ahead and vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote, student advisory yes vote. We did have a public session on this selection a couple of weeks ago. Item 6.2, Saddleback College Central Plant Phase 2. Motion from Trustee Lang.
Second.
So I'll give it to Trustee Jay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous trustee yes vote. Student advisory yes vote. 6.3, Saddleback College Technology and Applied Services Sciences Building Swing Space. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion from Trustee Lang.
Second.
Second from Trustee Witt. Any further discussion or questions on the item? Trustee Wright.
Just a couple of things. Now, how far does this? When can we start on this project? Does this delay it? Yeah.
It's already started, and this is amendment to it to add an addition of a necessary exhaust fan. This is for the swing space. So as you know, the swing space is already in place. This is an addition to design an exhaust fan to help with an issue down there.
No, I thought this was for the building, the task
No, this
building.
is for the swing space.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Good?
I'm good.
Okay, we had a motion and a second on 6.3. Go ahead and cast your vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote, student advisory yes vote. 6.4, Saddleback College Fine Arts HVAC upgrades. Motion from Trustee Lang.
Second.
Second from Trustee Milchiker. Seeing no questions or further discussion, go ahead and cast your vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote, student advisory yes vote. 6.5, ATEP First Building Project, change order number 1. Is there a motion from Trustee Lang?
Second.
Second from Trustee Wright. My only question on this one was, why wasn't this change requested earlier?
It was requested by President Rockmore when we were, and they were working through the design, but we had to hold the request because they wanted to fund this additional scope for the lobby through the RDA funds. We had to wait for the budget to be approved for RDA funding for August board meeting.
Okay.
So this is the next board meeting to be able to...
So it was intentional?
Yes, it was intentional.
All right. Okay. So we got a motion and a second, and go ahead and cast your vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote, student advisory yes vote. IVC College Liberal Arts Building Project, notice of completion.
Second.
I second.
Motion from Trustee Lang, second, I think, from Trustee Milchiker. Any discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous trustee yes vote and student advisory yes vote. 6.7, conflict of interest biennial code for review and amendment. approve the revised conflict of interest code. Motion from Trustee Lang.
Second. Second it.
Second from Trustee Jay. Any discussion on the item? Seeing no requests to speak, go ahead and vote. Unanimous trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. 6.8, academic personnel actions.
Move approval.
Motion from Trustee Milchiker.
Second. Second it.
Second, I think, from Trustee Witt. Any discussion on the item? Questions?
We do have a couple changes on this.
Trustee Wright. And
Yes. Yeah.
David, do you want to clarify?
First of all, on page 7, underneath D1, underneath Irvine Valley Reorganization, we'd like to change the effective date of that from September 27th to October 3rd. If you can make that change.
Okay.
And also on the next page, underneath item E, A, under reclassification, where it says eliminate Director of Emeritus Instructional Program, we want to pull that item as well as the accompanying Exhibit B.
Okay. So the motion is amended to accept those changes? Yes, it is. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead and cast your vote. We have a unanimous trustee yes vote and an abstention from our student trustee. All right, 6.9, classified personnel items.
Move approval.
Motion from Trustee Milchiker.
Second.
Second from Trustee Witt. Any discussion on the item? Or any changes? Go ahead, David.
One change on page 11, underneath G1, it's Irvine Valley College. We need to insert the word valley in the title. Sorry.
You're not sending a message?
No.
Okay, with that, I think we can accept that change and go ahead and vote on the item. We have a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee abstention. 6.10, employment
Move
contracts.
approval. Second, okay.
Motion from, this is the employment contract for our interim chancellor. Motion from Trustee Prendergast, second from Trustee Milchiker. Any discussion on the item? Rah, rah, hooray. Go ahead and vote on the item. Okay, unanimous trustee yes vote, student advisory yes vote. We're into 7.0 reports. We moved up 7.1. The foundation financials, 7.2, teacher of the year recognition ceremony. If there's any updates on it, I think many of us are going to go. 7.3, the technology plan. Deborah, you want to comment on it?
Yes, and we also have a rep from District IT as well. The colleges have been working with district personnel for the district-wide technology plan for quite a while, actually. I think it's almost been a 2-year process. And we, even though this has been completed, we haven't brought this to the board for formal review and approval. So tonight, what we're asking, this is the first reading. It'll come back at the next Board of Trustees meeting for review again and for acceptance by the board. And it's the first plan we've put in place on a district-wide basis. So I think we recognize that it's not perfection and that it'll be continually worked on by the district-wide committee that's responsible for this, working with the college's district IT folks and a lot of various folks to really sort of update this every year and to make it sort of a really sort of refined document. So we're really pleased that we have something in place for the time being, and it took a lot of work to get to this point, to get a district-wide technology plan in place, something that we've been needing for a very long period of time. So thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Lang.
Yes, I also wanted to echo your remarks about being pleased that the technology plan has been finished and presented, and really looking forward to engaging Dr. Barbucci regarding the plan, and also interested in understanding how we intend to monitor and evaluate the achievement of the goals that are laid out in the technology plan. So hopefully that will be part of the report that comes back to the board.
Correct. I'll make sure I communicate that to him. He is at Workday Rising this week. They're having a national conference. It's very valuable for them to be there these last couple of days, and so he couldn't attend this evening. But he knows that he's prepared for a little bit of an overview at the next session. So.
Perfect.
Okay. Trustee Prendergast.
Just to clarify, if we have suggestions, recommendations, obviously before the next board meeting so that it makes it or possibly can make it, we send them to you, do we send them to Dr. Bermucci?
Or you can just send them through our office, and I'll make sure that they get to the right appropriate folks. Yeah.
Okay. I do encourage every trustee to review the plan carefully because it is a new plan. 7.4, Saddleback College and IVC response to ITT Tech Closure. I had a Trustee Lang. I had a comment as well.
My question on this item was I saw the information that was provided regarding the closing of ITT. The part that I didn't understand and perhaps was interested in hearing more from faculty about, or anybody else that can provide that information, was it talked about students that might migrate over to our colleges and how they could possibly get credit for some of the courses that they had taken at ITT. One of the means of that was credit by exam, but it indicated here in the report that we didn't really have a process for that as I read it, and I couldn't understand that, because if we're offering these kinds of similar courses, why couldn't these students be taking the exams related to the courses that we have, and if they did well on those exams, get appropriate credit?
Yeah. Kathy Schmeidler.
Hi. Speaking for IVC, and I suspect, although we haven't conferred about it, for Saddleback as well, one of the concerns, the main concern from the faculty perspective, is that we not change our rules for this, that we try to accommodate students from anywhere, straight off the streets or from ITT Tech or from wherever they happen to come to us, but recognize that this is a bolus, a group that are released to us with some expectations, with some recent disappointments that we need to address specifically. So our discussions, and again, I'm assuming the same things happened at Saddleback as well, were to outline how we would deal with any student who believes that he or she is coming in with preparation that is equivalent to some of the courses we teach. And the way that we deal with that is our credit by examination process. We do have such a process. We may not have developed, faculty members don't develop credit by examinations, documents, willy-nilly for every single class. They're usually prepared when the need arises. And so perhaps that's what you were reading in the document, was the sense that the exams may not be in existence at this moment because nobody's ever requested them. Why would somebody write an exam that nobody requests? But the process is absolutely in place at both colleges and can be used for this purpose. One of the big points that was made, again, I'm sure at the other college as well as IVC, was that we will not countenance any mechanism for accepting these students that is outside our normal parameters, and that it's unlikely, since there are no articulation agreements in place, this is a nationally, not a locally accredited institution, that it's extremely unlikely that any articulation agreements could be made at this time since they're defunct, and therefore we would not be adopting their coursework or their transcripts, but rather only credit by exam.
But it says here in the report that the faculty will, I'm not sure what this means, the faculty will be engaged to determine if they wish to write an exam.
Our process, that's what our process is.
What does that mean, engaged to determine?
If a student comes in alleging that they have done the work equivalent to our course XYZ, the lead instructor, presumably full-time instructor, for that course will be asked to construct such an exam. We have some faculty members who, for pedagogical reasons, don't believe that an examination is sufficient to verify that a student has accomplished all of the student learning outcomes and the objectives of a course. For example, skills components, there may be ongoing discussions that are necessary. There may be papers that need to be written. There may be all sorts of different things that can't just be done by an exam. So it might be that the faculty involved in a particular course don't believe that a credit by exam is feasible for a particular course. And therefore our process gives that authority to the discipline experts for each individual class.
It's not going to be a college-wide policy. It's based on the discipline and the faculty member within that discipline.
It's based on the individual course. So I might be willing to do credit by exam for my course number 1, but not my course number 3, because of the nature of the course. Remember that a credit by exam has to satisfy the discipline faculty members that all of the learning objectives of the course outline of record have been satisfied. And the faculty members may not be able to conceive of any feasible exam that would cover all of those learning objectives for some courses and yet be able to do it for other courses.
Kathy, anything at Saddleback that's different from that? I'm Kathy Worley, sorry.
Kathy Schmeidler's described it beautifully.
Right.
We've had a program in the past where we've done assessment of learning with a portfolio process and a course that a student would take, and I know that there's some interest within some faculty groups to reinstate that. We don't have that process in place at the moment. The credit by exam also gives the student the ability to get their financial debt waived related to student debt that they've acquired if they're not transferring units. So this may be a win-win for the students to continue their work. And I had the dialogue with the Health Information Technology faculty member, which is the only unique course out of all the things that ITT offered. And she would be able to do some sort of an assessment of students at the course level. We're not close enough to ITT to make that much of a difference, but this is a good way of looking at other college closures. We've got some that have happened within the last year. There are a number threatened right now with other colleges throughout the state. So,
hold on, just before you proceed, I'm looking at the clock, and we've got a number of questions still. Student trustee, you're next. But can I have a motion to extend the meeting?
Extension of the meeting for a half hour to 9:30.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
extend the meeting. Second by Trustee Wright. I guess we're not going to record this. Record it? Okay. No. Any further discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and vote. Motion carries. The meeting is extended unanimously to 9:30 if needed. Student trustee Ford.
Yeah, just from the student perspective, and to go on to what you said, at our state board meeting for trustees we just had, we discussed this closure and the changes in the federal financial student aid that's going to be changing so that now for-profit colleges will no longer be able to work with federal student aid and some loan programs. We're seeing changes in student numbers. One of our colleges in Los Angeles, student trustee, was telling me that they've received a large influx of unique student enrollment since the closure of ITT Tech. And though we are far from ITT Tech and we won't be necessarily probably getting that, other campuses like University of Phoenix and DeVry, we might get more numbers from that. And there's also now changes in demographics of students. We're seeing a lot more students that are coming from non-traditional student backgrounds, older students that are going to school at night and things like this. So from the perspective of students, seeing this, it's a good time to start planning for the future, making some small changes to how services are offered later in the day, and looking at administrative offices being open a little bit later, maybe until 6 or 7 instead of closing at 5, and also being prepared because at some time when one of these closures might happen, we might see an extremely large influx of students, and we have to be prepared for that.
Great suggestions. Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So we've talked about using an exam to determine comparability. I know I've personally gone through this where you have a course that you took has a different title, but then you go into this new one, you realize they're the exact same. If you can provide a syllabus, maybe examples of work that you've done, is that a part of this process? Can they do that, or is it only by exam, and then if the exam isn't available, they're just out? I mean, is there other avenues that they can do to prove course completion comparability?
The notion of an exam is pretty broad. So it can include skills tests. It can include portfolio type things. It can include a number of different things. But I suspect that, let me say that a little more strongly. I can't imagine a faculty member accepting a syllabus and a grade from another institution as complete demonstration of adequacy or comparability unless there's a great deal of trust within that other institution. And if that were the case, then we would probably have an articulation agreement with that other institution.
Well, I'm saying grade. I'm saying examples of work. So, taking, for example, I had a reading class that I had to take to get my clear credential. I took a teaching reading course in Illinois, took the first day of the class and said, wait, this is the exact same class, and was able to provide proof that I had already completed, as you mentioned, the course requirements and the aspects of it to a point where the professor was convinced, yes, you don't need this class again. You've already taken it. And was able to do a pass completion rather than a grade based on examples of work that I was able to provide that I had done for that other class. Is that a part of this process? I hear the portfolio aspect. So I just want to make sure that we're not pigeonholing ourselves and saying, oh, if you want to get credit, you've got to take an exam, and if there's no exam, oh, well, you're out. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Typically, we don't have a large number wanting to do credit by exam for any individual course, and therefore the exam is usually tailored not only to the course but to the situation. If we were to have a huge influx from ITT Tech or from the closure of some other school that might close in the future, we might see something like a horde coming in. Wouldn't that be nice? Not for them, but for us. In which case, some device would have to be organized, but that would be up to the discipline expert. So the term exam, I think, is sufficiently broad to cover all of those exigencies. And I just wanted to point out that there aren't that many campuses of ITT Tech, so we don't know how far their students have traveled, and it might well be that either of our campuses is in fact closer to their home than ITT Tech was, so it's a little hard to predict how many people might be coming.
Maybe it's a semantics thing when we say equivalency assessment instead of exam. Because exam brings about images of...
It doesn't have to be a written multiple choice. Right. It doesn't have to be that. That's the term in code.
So,
thank you. Trustee Witt.
In my career, I believe I've done at least 2. And you always have to remember there might be another agency that is an accrediting board that you just, professor just can't say, oh, okay, that reading class is accepted, and if that reading class is determined by the BRN, for me, to be a requirement, you really have to, that has to be pure, absolutely pure. Now, you mentioned something else. I think you can do credit by exam more with theory, just plain theory classes. If you have labs involved, unless you do credit by lab, you have to demonstrate. And that's the only way to do it. Twice I've done it, and it wasn't for a required class for graduation. It had to do with an elective that if you took that class, you could get more points if you entered into the program. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was glad to do that, mostly for paramedics that take classes or in other states. So It's feasible. Well, the first time, I just want to tell you, I did the exam. I wrote a new exam, and then I got smart. And I thought, I looked at my midterm and my final, and I thought, what's wrong with these two? So, if they can pass those, go for it.
I think Chris MacDonald, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, there's actually a second viable option. If there are a sequence of courses, so let's take computer information management. The student has completed a year of coursework. If it's deemed comparable, we don't give them credit for the course, but we can say we'll waive the prerequisites for course 1 and put them into course 2 so that they don't lose the entire time. So that is also permissible, and that would be done on a case-by-case basis. So that's probably the more likely alternative if we were to have an influx of students. The faculty members would simply do an analysis of the coursework, and in sequential courses, waivers could be had. And just to reiterate, it's to the benefit of the students to not try to transfer the credit from a financial aid standpoint because they get to reset and start over.
Oh, really? All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Trustee Wright.
I was just going to comment. These have been some very good comments because I've done it a couple of times for some chemistry courses. But you first of all, you look at the textbook they're using and to see whether it's a reputable textbook. You look at the syllabus. And we run into problems in chemistry because of the labs that are required. And so you can even design a lab test. Do they know how to use these particular pieces of equipment and so forth? So you can do it. But it takes a lot of time. And what Chris says about math classes and other things, you look at what they've taken before, but they have to prove to you what they've done.
Yep. Thank you, Trustee Wright. It's interesting. I had a feeling this item was going to generate a lot of interest, as it should. Thanks for responding. Okay, we're now on to 7.5, Saddleback College and IVC speakers. Any comments on that? Basic aid report, 7.6.
No changes since last month.
Thank you. 7.7, facilities plan status report.
I just wanted to point out something on that report, if I could. Trustee Wright had asked about the Technology and Applied Science renovation project. So if we could take a look at page 3 of the report, this report is really dense. There's a lot going on, but there is some valuable information in this. And I know Brandy Delana would love to talk a little bit about this. She went home sick today. We're all dropping like flies at the district services office with getting colds and flu. So you can see on the little grid in the middle on that page that we're currently waiting for DSA final approval on the drawings. There are some constructability reviews also happening on design. We're looking at really awarding the construction contract in March. So that sort of gives you an idea where we are on the timeline. So I hope that helps, Trustee Wright. Thank you.
It'll take, 2 years to do it?
Yes. Complete this, actually a little bit more than a year, about 18 months construction.
Okay.
Of course, that really depends on as we get through DSA and sort of take a look at design. And that will be adjusted. This updates every month as we have new information. And anything in italics on this page are things that are changed from the previous month. So it really is valuable. I know it's a lot to read sometimes, but it does help,
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. So, Dave, do you have a question on this one or the next item? Okay, Trustee Lang.
I guess the one item that sort of stood out to me was the IVC Performing Arts Center project, in which we completed construction in June 2007, but we're still pending DSA closeout. And I understand the reasons for it because it was explained in here, but it just seems like waiting for DSA closeout can be an excruciatingly long process. And I'll leave my comment at that.
That is correct. As you know, we had a significant number of projects prior to my arrival and Brenda Delana's arrival at the district that had never been closed out. What that means to Board of Trustees, for instance, is personal liability, actually. So we've been working really diligently with consultants to get these closed out. We got all but down to one project, and we're close. Let's just say that it was quite tough, and it's one of those things you have to do things as you go, and going back many years later to try to do this has been extremely painful, but we're very close to getting it done. I just had a conversation with Brandy about that just more than a week ago. So,
good. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, 7.8 monthly financial status report, and 7.9 OPEB trust fund. Okay, we're here. Finally made it. 8.0 reports from administration and governance group, Saddleback College Academic Senate. Kim D'Arcy.
Yes, good evening, Interim Chancellor and Board of Trustees. I just wanted to acknowledge President Burnett's retirement announcement. And as I stated in my press release, really the longevity of his career as Saddleback College's president really speaks to his commitment to our college and to our students. And so we just, recognize him, and we wish him the best in all of his endeavors. And he's not even here tonight, so you all just heard that.
It's being recorded. I'm sure you can watch it later. We have Faculty Association, Mark Blethen.
Good evening. I have nothing to report tonight.
Wow. Thank you. And then IVC, Academic Senate, Kathy Schmeidler.
Good evening. I have only a brief report, and that is to thank Interim Chancellor Deborah Fitzsimmons for her efforts as Interim Chancellor and also some of the duties of her Vice Chancellorship that she's retained. We had a very successful set of meetings on Friday in our district-wide planning council, which the Chancellor chairs, and the Board Policy and Administrative Reg Committee, which it used to be the Vice Chancellor chairs, but I'm glad she didn't give it up, because both of those meetings were very full of real, not just reports out, but real substantial discussions, and I just want to compliment her in public for handling some difficult conversations very, very well, in my opinion. Thank you.
Excellent. I see the Vice Chancellor of Technology and Learning Services is not here, so we'll move on to the Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, David Bouquet.
This week we're going to have our Human Resources Department at Camp Pendleton in some training programs for some veterans and their spouses, and also pushing a couple jobs that we have of our own. We also had, right after the ATEP ceremony that we had, the groundbreaking, we had equal employment opportunity training at ATEP as well, followed by Saddleback in the afternoon. We had some spiced up training in the aspect of if you can make a topic as interesting as EOC, and I'm just always on the edge of my seat whenever I hear about it, but we increased it quite a bit by having 4 student actors from Saddleback College underneath the direction of Mark Crewman and filmed by Matt Brodet here at Saddleback College. And we did 4 different scenarios, and actually we made it pretty good. The presentation is actually practical, hands-on, right down to the T. So it was really professionally done, and thanks to the Saddleback students and staff for that as well. The other part is September 19th, Deborah Fitzsimmons turned a year younger, and Jim Wright on the 22nd turned that over. I will spare the board a singing rendition of that, but happy birthday to the 2 of you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yes. Okay. IVC Classified Senate.
Good evening. I just wanted to, unfortunately, I was sick at the last board meeting, so I just wanted to personally thank Chancellor Fitzsimmons, President Jamal, Trustees Jay, Prendergast, and Wright for attending the Classified Senate breakfast hosted by President Rockmore. It was a really nice turnout, and what was very helpful is that we had a conversation and about the incoming chancellor and the chancellor search. We also talked about accreditation, which was very helpful and really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of what to expect the days that they're there. And that, I know, has been a lot of people's questions. So that was wonderful. And at this point, we're still in our planning for the academic year. We're getting some professional development activities, learning lunches on the calendar. So that's what we're working on currently. And then I myself am the South Vice President for the statewide classified Senate. So we just recently had a board meeting that I participated in, and I am working on planning a South retreat, which is actually hosting classified senates from across the Southern California area to participate in a day workshop and bringing people together to learn about some statewide initiatives, the subject of accreditation, and just giving a day to network. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much. CSEA President.
Thank you, Mr. President. We wanted to thank the Board of Trustees who came to the classified luncheon. It was very successful. We want to thank Dr. Burnett and his staff for putting that together. We got a lot of good feedback from the classified staff this year. CSEA statewide has sent out informational material on Prop 55, and so that has been distributed throughout the state to CSEA members so that they can actually get into the neighborhoods, start talking to people, give them the information about Proposition 55, because investing in education is very important. And so we already are doing phone banking. We're already in the neighborhoods, and we're going to continue that right up until Election Day. This past week, I attended the Student Academy Awards, and it was wonderful to actually see some of the films that were being shown and those that won. They either won gold medals, silver medals, or bronze medals. USC won a gold medal. Chapman University won a silver medal and a bronze medal. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences does very well in supporting education and really helping the students. Both at Saddleback College and IVC, we try to get students prepared for either transferring to upper division in that field, in the entertainment field, or to try to get them real work experience so that they're able to get the jobs at the studios. We've had some students that have been interning at the American Film Institute. They also won a gold medal at the Student Academy Awards, as well as other schools, so that especially when they get and transfer to other schools, that they're very well known that they came from this district. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And finally, Saddleback College Classified Senate.
I'll try to keep this short, but I've got a lot to say. It's been an exciting start to the fall semester with some great events and changes happening at Saddleback College. The Saddleback College Classified Staff Luncheon was held on September 16th, and I've received nothing but positive feedback on the event. I thank board members Marcia Milchiker, Tere Witt, President Tim Jamal, and Chancellor Fitzsimmons for attending. Our senators voted this month to increase the amount of professional development funding our classified staff can request each year from our funding pool. Full-time classified employees can now request up to $2,000, and part-time classified employees can request up to $1,000 per professional development each academic year. Saddleback College Classified Senate has just launched a new classified employee recognition program. This program is intended to show appreciation and recognition of outstanding classified employees for exceptional contributions and service to our campus or district, or to our students each month. Any staff, faculty, or managers may submit a nomination on the Saddleback College Classified Senate website. All monthly recipients are entitled to a monthly drawing for a chance to win a small prize. The last item I want to talk about tonight is to invite the board and the public to participate in our annual Saddleback College Classified Senate Veterans Thanksgiving Basket Food Drive. Every year, Classified Senate collects monetary donations and food donations to benefit our student veterans. This year, our goal is to help 100 families. For comparison, last year we were able to provide help to 65 student veteran families. Please visit the Saddleback College Classified Senate website for more information on how you can help our veterans and donate to this very important cause. The deadline for donations is November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, tonight we adjourn our meeting in memory of two Saddleback College students who were taken from us much too suddenly. Robert McCorkle was tragically killed in an automobile accident a few weeks ago. Lori Shepard suffered from a brain aneurysm and did not survive her surgeries. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families, friends, and colleagues. Grief counseling will be available in the health center to help students and staff affected by these sad and sudden losses. Good night.